Good evening, everyone. Good evening to all of you who are friends and advocates for the poor, especially in the Philippines. I'm Donna Reyes again for another episode of Quantum GK. Tonight is episode 6, and with us this evening is Elijah Gelongo and Hannah Famador of the University of Florida Filipino Student Association. Oh my gosh, that is a mouthful. How are you guys?
We're doing good. How are you?
Good, good. We don't have to be so formal around here. This is, Quantum JK. I was asking them before this, before we went on live this evening, if they spoke Tagalog. They do understand a little bit of Tagalog, but for those of you who do not understand a word of Tagalog, cuento is a Tagalog word which means story, right, or conversation. So our weekly conversations really, talking about stories about hope, about, what Gawad Kalinga is doing and sharing, right, with the poor in the Philippines. And this evening, I am very excited to chat with you guys about what you are doing in Filipino Student Association for the poor in the Philippines. So you both are part of the Filipino Student Association at the University of Florida. I understand that Hannah was the former external vice president for external affairs, right? And Elijah is the current vice president for external affairs. So to start off, why don't you share with us a little bit about what Filipino Student Association is all about? Elijah, maybe you can start since you're the current, right, vice president for external affairs.
Yeah, so UFFSA is an organization that kind of serves as like a home away from home for not only Filipino students, but anybody who's interested in Filipino culture. And our organization hosts like a variety of events, ranging from our Barrio Fiesta in the spring to the Deaf Talent Jam, which is usually hosted in the fall. And we host a wide variety of events aimed towards spreading and appreciation for Filipino culture through our 3 pillars of dance, sports, and culture. Yeah.
Awesome. So this is great that you guys are joining us this evening because October is Filipino American History Month, right? And we are celebrating the contributions of Filipinos in American history in the country, right? But are there since you're promoting the Filipino culture at the university, right? Are there any members of FSA who are non-Filipinos? And maybe Hannah can answer that question.
Yeah, so UFFSA is actually part of an umbrella organization within, which is called ASU, which is the Asian American Student Union at UF. So there's also like, we have the Korean Undergraduate Student Association. So there's like, we have members who are Korean, Vietnamese, people of any like Asian ethnicity, and also other entities as well. So we're very culturally diverse population.
So they basically just joined the organization because they're interested to know a little bit more about our culture in the Philippines.
Yeah. So yeah, Filipino culture, but also through dance. We do like modern and traditional dances, and then also through our cultural shows. A lot of people like to attend those because they're very representative of our Filipino culture.
So are there a lot of Filipinos at the University of Florida, or is there a big Filipino population there?
I would say that it's a pretty big population compared to compared to like Jacksonville or like Orlando, it's like a little bit smaller, but for being like in Gainesville, I think it's a pretty big population of Filipinos.
And prior to joining FSA, have you guys been involved in any Filipino association or any, Filipino activities or events within your community in Gainesville? And I understand where are you from again, Elijah? I know you mentioned somewhere in Florida, but now it escaped my mind.
I'm from Bradenton, which is like kind of in the Tampa Bay area.
Oh, okay. So there's a big Filipino population over there, isn't it?
Um, I'm kind of distant from that, like geographically, I'm kind of distant from that Filipino community. Yeah.
Okay. So have you guys been involved in any, Filipino events at all? Like, I was sharing with you how the Bayanihan Center, I think that's what it's called, in Tampa is something that is really quite impressive. I have been with my work with the previous, in my previous job, I have the opportunity to, meet a lot of Filipino community leaders. And I have to say that one of the most prominent ones and very active and, have done really amazing work is the Filipino community in Tampa. And that's the Bayanihan. They built the Bayanihan Center out of, getting grants from the government and also out of their, hard work. Have you guys been there at all, or have you been involved in any other activities there?
For me personally, I have not been to like any of the Filipino festivals or anything in Tampa. But I know a lot of people who are Filipinos who live there, so I'd love to go to one of them in the future.
Well, I tell you, actually, the Gawad Kalinga USA chairman, Dr. Jun Rafinan, is actually from that area, from Tampa, and very much involved in, in the Filipino community there. So definitely something to check out. You guys will be proud of what you have over there. I've never seen anything like it, like anywhere in the key cities where there's a big Filipino population. So tell me a little bit about yourself, right? So let's start with Elijah. How old are you again?
I'm 19 years old.
Oh my goodness, 19. Now you're bringing me back to my college years back in the Philippines. That's where, I got my bachelor's, 19 years old. How about you, Hannah? How old are you?
I'm 21.
21. Oh my gosh, you guys are so young. And I feel so happy that you are already involved in making a difference and giving back to, to the country of your parents, homeland, right? Or the motherland, right? So what course are you taking, Hannah, at the University of Florida?
So I'm a senior and I'm studying biology on the pre-med track. So hopefully
Wow.
medical school is my goal.
Aren't you young? You're advanced. When you're 21 years old and you're in your senior year? Aren't you like a year early or something?
No? I don't think so. No. I think I'm just on track.
Oh, okay. Because you start college in the U.S. at 18, right? Sorry, pardon my ignorance. I went to school in the Philippines from grade school to college, and I took my master's here in the U.S. So I graduated at 21, going on 21. So I thought you'll be a little bit early to graduate. So are you graduating this semester or next semester?
I'll be graduating in the spring. Yeah.
Awesome. And then you are going to be pursuing what kind of doctor do you want to be? Do you want to be a pediatrician or a cardiologist, or what do you have in mind?
Right now, I'm not really set on one specific specialty. I think I have a long time to really think about that. But the one, I guess, from my shadowing experiences and the volunteering that I've done, I think pediatrics is definitely one of my top choices.
Awesome. And how about you, Elijah? What course are you taking?
So I'm in my second year of college, and I'm a biochemistry major, also on the pre-med track. So yeah, hopefully med school is also in the future. Not as near in the future as Hannah, but hopefully
Wow.
that is the goal.
Are there any members of your association that are not into med school or or pursuing any science courses? Are there, or are you all like medical students or pursuing?
I'd say there's a good amount of people who aren't pursuing a career in science. Yeah, we have a good mix within our member population.
All right. Okay. So what I guess motivated you, or what attracted you to join FSA? Anyone can start. I mean, Elijah
Okay.
or whoever wants to start.
Do you want to start, Elijah?
You're too nice to each other. You should just be jumping in and go.
So like personally, I like growing up, I had like that personal like family connection to like other Filipino families, but I didn't really have like an established, organized like Filipino community that you find in like larger cities with a larger Filipino population. And so coming to UF, I was really excited that there was something like that on campus, and it was something that I never really had in a school setting. And so yeah, like we really like to say that FSA is a home away from home, and I think it lives up to its name. I fell in love with the community that I found through FSA, and that's why I became so involved with it.
Do you know how old FSA is? Like when it started as an organization? Pop quiz. No, I was just curious if you knew how long it's been in existence.
It's been it was founded, I believe, at UF in 1987.
87. Okay.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
1987.
Wow. You guys weren't even born yet at that time.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
been a long
Okay,
time.
so let's go back to FSA's involvement with Gawad Kalinga. I understand that this really started in 2010, and that somebody who was, I guess, the vice president for external affairs at that time, or whoever the officers at that time, started getting involved with Gawad Kalinga. And Hannah, you're more familiar with that story. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. So I was actually in contact with one of the officers back in 2012, and she had contacted the people who like started working with GK, and she told me that they had heard a speaker up from Gawad Kalinga, and I guess they just resonated with Gawad Kalinga's mission and wanted to continue working with the organization, throughout these years. And an official like Gawad Kalinga chair was established in 2010, 2011, and then like over the years, it's like progressed into a like philanthropy team, which is what we have now, which is what
What
Elijah
does
is
that
like the
mean?
head of.
What does the Gawad Kalinga chair mean that was established?
It was a position that I guess handled like the fundraising efforts for Gawad Kalinga, and also just handled all of the philanthropy aspects of FSA and all those efforts that we had back then.
That's amazing. So there really is like a formal, position that Gawad Kalinga is
Yeah.
really part of the of your association, and not just a project that it seems like it has been an ongoing thing. Well, for a decade now, if it started in 2010. So that's amazing. And thank you guys for what you do. It makes a lot of difference, right? You guys really make a difference in the lives of so many in the Philippines. Can you share with us what was the first project that FSA did back then in 2010? Did they build a home, or what, or was it they just raised funds, but there was no really specific programs that you guys supported?
I'm not actually completely like sure if there was a specific project that they worked on, but
Mhm.
I'm sure they raised money for it. And she also mentioned that some members went on a Gawad Kalinga trip. So some members participated in that effort in that way. So, but I'm not completely
There's
sure
probably
about
no
how to.
specific program. It's not unusual for organizations to raise funds, but they don't really specify, what programs they want to be a part of. And that's actually even more helpful, I think, because, there's some flexibility into where the funds will be going. So then obviously Gawad Kalinga will be the best to determine, what the needs are. And so they have flexibility as to where the funds would go, right? Like, for example, I understand, when you were vice president for external affairs, Hannah, you guys raised money for Kusina ng Kalinga. Is that right?
Yeah, in the past,
Right.
we did that, and then during my term, we were planning to donate to Kusina ng Kalinga, but then because of like COVID and things like that, we thought it was appropriate to contribute to that fund at that time.
Can you share how much money did you guys raise at that time?
I'm not sure of the amount off the top of my head, but it was about like
It has to be exact to the cent. I'm just kidding.
It was about 1,700.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Did you know that for $60 you can feed a hungry Filipino child for 120 days? That was something that I learned also last week when we had Dr. Lani Diamse, who is leading, who's one of the people who are involved with the CICAD, the bike ride over in Southern California. And yeah, they're raising money also for Kusina ng Kalinga because the Gawad Kalinga actually has a campaign to fight hunger. So, spread the word out and use a hashtag, be a hunger warrior, so to help beat hunger in the Philippines. So, what about Elijah? I understand that now your fundraising efforts will begin in spring, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, traditionally we set a month aside for GK fundraisers, and that's usually in March.
In March, so you're allotting a month to raise funds for GK. Is that what you said? Sorry, you speak so softly, I couldn't understand. So, do you have any you have any specifics yet as to what activities you might be doing, or are you still in the process of brainstorming on that?
Yeah, I'd say we're still around like the brainstorming process because like we really don't know what's going to be thrown at us in the spring. I think we're just taking this time to just test the waters and see what works for us, especially with like this new virtual format. And yeah, I think we'll just adapt as best as we can to whatever obstacles we'll face in the spring because a lot of our events are going to be dependent on whether or not the pandemic ends or if it's still ongoing. Because we don't want to put the health and safety of our members at risk. So we'll just see how the pandemic plays out, and we have contingency plans for that as well.
All right. Okay. So at this point, let me try and play that video again, just to and hopefully it works this time. All right. Just give me a minute. All right. Just give me a minute. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see if this plays out. I don't know why it wouldn't play earlier. I had it on cue. But I really wanted to share this video about Kusina ng Kalinga. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Gawad Kalinga is campaigning to fight hunger in the Philippines. I've said this before, we may be in the same storm with this pandemic and everything, but we are not on the same boat. Some people don't have the resources and don't have the capacity to even survive, right? And so this is really when it is so important for us to, just reach out and hopefully, make make a difference, and and reach out to those people who are really in dire need, like people who are not able to work so they can provide for their families who are starving. So even though Kusina ng Kalinga has been in existence as a program of Gawad Kalinga for a while now, it has become even more important because of the challenges that this pandemic has brought to the country. So many people are going hungry, and and all efforts are really geared toward helping those people. All right, so let me share this video.
Sakit baya kay inangano naagog ko'y mga anak niya kana bitong na ako nulisod baya kay inangano kami og ganikanan okay ra pero ang anak lisod baya nga dili bitaw ka nang makakaon bitaw. Ito makabuka kong anak niya akong ba nabali pagyod niya dili naman siya makasulod og trabaho. Wala kami karon magkuyog-kuyog na lang mi kun asa may makapamagol aron lang makakaon mi.
May mga bata din na problema, hindi lamang nila masabi sa guro. Tulad ng gutom. Kung sumakit ang tiyan nila, yun namin malalaman na wala pala silang kain na pumunta dito sa eskwelahan.
But Kusina ng Kalinga is Gawad Kalinga's anti-hunger program and campaign. Yung hunger natin has been hovering around 30 to 36% over the past many years. So yung gutom is all over us. So yung based on recipe galing talaga sa Food and Nutrition Research Institute ng UST. So that's why assured siya na use the right nutrition for the right nutrition.
Yung kusina ng Kalinga sa Sambuan, partner ni GK dito is si NGCP. Bibigyan ng pagkain yung 400 plus na bata dito. So from kinder to grade 6 siya. Yung mga ingredients po na linuluto namin, nanggaling po sa local. So, dito sa Sambuan, dito rin kami bibili ng karne, ng bigas, ng mga gulay na gagamitin namin.
Sa akong 7 ka anak, 5 ang nakadawat sa feeding program. Tako jud kay natabang ang Gawad Kalinga Kusina. Kaya nang excited na kay sila nga mo eskwela. Malipayon ako nga ni volunteer dire sa San Sebastian. Dayon nga nakatabang ko sa mga kabataan. Good nga kuan nga sama na ko nga kabos.
Excited ko mo sarod sa eskwela kanahan ko makaon og panyaga kay Laude.
Ako nagpasalamat ako sa GCP, Gawad Kalinga o local government nga nakatabang namong mga kabos.
Dito sa inyong program, i-promote man ninyo ang bayanihan spirit. So it's very good thing. Everybody is enrolled.
Pasalamat ko sa NGCP o Gawad Kalinga. Kaya di na ko magbaon.
All right. So that is the video. That was Bisaya, isn't it? I know, Hannah, you mentioned that your parents are from Cebu. Is it Cebu? And sorry, let me just
Yes.
stop that. I don't know why it's still playing. Was that just your parents are from Cebu?
Cebu and Bohol.
Okay. Did you understand any of that conversations there in the video?
I did understand a pretty like majority of it. So
Yeah, I don't understand Bisaya. Actually, my family's from Pampanga, which is north of Luzon, right? So I don't understand any of that, but I do understand. Well, obviously there are subtitles, right? But just how that mother was sharing about how difficult it must be for her to not be able to provide for her children. It's one thing for her to be hungry herself, right? But if you have children who are dependent on you, and I think that just makes it just really breaks my heart to see that. And I guess my turn to share as well, right? I actually my first encounter with poverty was right when I was 19 years old. That's why I'm about Elijah's age at that time. I went to school at Miriam College, and where we lived was just a walk I would just walk to my school. And we weren't wealthy or anything, but I lived a comfortable life. And growing up in the Philippines, being born and raised there, I was I would say I was used to slums and poverty as just part of the landscape, right? But not until when it was a course in my freshman year in college. It was Sociology 101, where they brought us to a depressed community of indigenous people in Rizal, in Tanay Rizal. And that's really my first sort of taste of poverty just over the weekend. I don't remember. Maybe it was a 3-5 day exposure trip. And we got to live at at their house and kind of have a taste of their life over the weekend. And I remember coming home being so disturbed, and I just had mixed emotions, but I think foremost of which was guilt, right? That I was born to a life of comfort, and they were not. They're only they were born poor. Their parents were poor. The children are poor, and if nobody gives them any opportunities, or just to get them started with to improve their life, they will probably have generations of poverty, right? So I remember being so guilty, even like taking a shower, or I had warm shower, I had I had a comfortable bed and all of that, and I had nutritious meals and all of that. But every time, like everything that I did, that weekend of spending time with that community just really haunted me, right? So I would trace back my involvement with the work for the poor back then when I was 19 years old. I'm 48 now. I'm 48 years old. You guys can be my kids. I don't have any kids of my own, but yes, that's been I'm 48 now. I don't know. You do the math, right? That's been a long, long time ago. But I truly believe that when God calls you for service, it's loud and clear, and and it will consistently be calling you. There's a voice that will consistently be calling you, and you'll be involved in one way or another, right? So for me, this is I guess it's my involvement is having this opportunity and honor really to host Kwentong GK on a weekly basis. It really, it really feeds your soul, right? And it really it's really a it's really a blessing to share stories and to hear stories like yours, right? At that young age, you guys are trying to make a difference in raising funds for the poor in the Philippines. Do you have any plans of going home, or have you gone home and visited any Gawad Kalinga village maybe? Elijah.
So I don't really have any plans. I would really like to go back home, but it can get like pretty costly and all that. So I would like to in the future when I can, like when I'm like stable and stuff, I would really like to visit back home. But all of the like trips, like the GK trips and all of that, seem like a really good experience, especially for individuals who are interested in service and giving back. And so I'd say like if you do have the means to do that, definitely go for it. But I would definitely like to try that in the future.
And Hannah, I understand that the officers who before you actually had a chance to visit the Philippines. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what did they say about, what stories did they share with you?
Actually, she actually didn't give like more specifics like into what their experience was, but I'm sure it was a very like eye-opening and very inspiring. Like,
is it something that you'd like to venture in yourself to to make a trip home and maybe visit the places where your parents are from?
Yeah, definitely. I've been to the Philippines in the past, and now I've seen like the this like striking difference between the poverty, and then there's places who are like very well off, and so I definitely like want to go back in the near future, and so maybe do a service trip, but right now I don't think it's very possible considering the circumstances.
I think travel is almost impossible nowadays with the pandemic anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know though, and this is just an idea for FSA. I know I'm based in Chicago. There every year around January 1st usually is when they travel with a group of students here in Illinois would travel to the Philippines, and they would raise money as a group, right, to pay for the expenses for the airfare, the accommodation, and all of that, and to build one home to in the Philippines. And they've been doing this, oh my gosh, maybe for like at least 10 years, I would think. Yeah, so they've been doing it every single year, and they're not all Filipino, students. They're some of them. I think there's, maybe for a group of like 20, there'll be like a couple Filipino, but a lot of them are also non-Filipino students, and it is through the Archdiocese of Joliet here in Illinois that they do that. So they come from different universities within that Archdiocese. And yeah, they do it every year. I believe this year, I don't know how many students went, but they went again this year. So that's something that, you might want to raise funds for as a group, so that, I think it'll be more fun, right? To, pool resources together versus feeling like, okay, I have to raise this on my own, right? And I have to have money to, out of pocket to go, right? It'll be nice, right? If parents could, support you in doing that. But in my opinion, it's probably even better if you raise funds as a group, because in that way you're able to also spread the advocacy for the poor, versus limiting that information within your family circle. Does that make sense? All right. So at this point, it's 7:30. I just want to invite you, or invite you, or give you the opportunity to invite people, maybe students at the University of Florida, to join your organization, join FSA, whatever it is that you want to promote. Go right ahead. Maybe Elijah can do that because you are the current Vice President for External Affairs.
Yeah, so if any of you are listening and you are at the University of Florida, I would highly encourage you to join our organization. You don't have to be Filipino. You just have to have an interest in our culture. And also, like, quick plug, because it is coming soon. You mentioned Filipino American History Month. We will have a closing ceremony for that. I believe next Friday, and there will be like small drive-through for food as well. And we've taken like COVID precautions for that. So yeah, we're doing everything that we can to give that experience, that FSA experience to y'all within this pandemic. And yeah, we hope that you enjoy our organization's efforts if you do choose to join.
So let me just say that again. That's October 23. And what's the name of the event?
23rd. FAM closing ceremony put on by our culture team and VP of Culture. There will be like performances that will be on Zoom at 6:30 p.m. And then you will have an opportunity to try some Filipino food if you are comfortable with doing so.
Okay, so it will be on Zoom, but there's also a live event where you guys can get together. Is that right?
It'll be very like socially distant. It's like a drive-through event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like feeding them egg rolls or something while they're driving through? I can imagine. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. Is there a website or Facebook page or whatever like somewhere online where they can get information about that event? Hannah, do you know any of that? Any information about that?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, UF Filipino Student Association. And there's also another like general page that's Filipino Student Association at UF. So any of those will have information about all our events. And then there's also an Instagram at UFFSA.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me this evening. It's been a pleasure to talk to you both. And, it always excites me to pick the brains of the younger generation of Phil-Ans, and may we all continue to contribute to the history of this country, like all Filipino Americans of all generations. All right. Again, this has been Donna Reyes for Kwentong GK. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we hope that you join us every Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific at Kwentong GK. Thank you so much. Bye.